Mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. You're here with your usual crew, Lauren, Lori, Graz, and Billy. And today, what is today? July 23rd, 2015. The weather is fair in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. How are you guys doing? Actually, it's hot and humid as hell, I will admit. But how are you guys doing?
At least I knew what day it was. I'm doing pretty good.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot. And it's supposed to get hotter, too. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. Other than that, everything's good. You know, you're supposed to think reverse psychology, so I've been telling everybody, I'm about to freeze to death.
I would.
They laugh, you know. Yeah. Ooh, it is summer. Definitely summer.
Yep. Y'all had any action around where y'all are?
You know, I haven't heard anything other than that howling that one day, and I listened to it. It's just coyotes. I saw a young coyote today. That was pretty cool. And I've been seeing stuff like when I'm driving down the road in the woods, something moving big, but, you know, it could just be shadows, you know. I could just have be on the verge of heat exhaustion and just seeing stuff. So, yeah. So, I'm nothing really to, you know. So, nobody's got anything new to tell, huh?
I can't tell if she was breaking up or just not talking.
Who, me? Oh, man.
No, you were doing fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah, fine. I think you're fine. Okay, so before we move on to our guest, who I'm very excited to interview, he seems like a really great guy and a really busy guy. He seems like he has his hands on a lot of different pies, or his fingers and whatever, pie. Anywho. So, witnesses. We are still collecting witness statements. If you have had an experience or have seen a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call it, and you would like to share your story on Night Callers Radio, we are going to dedicate a spot to you and have your interview live. So you'll need to message us on Facebook, or you can email your account to us or your contact info to us at nightcallers_BTR@yahoo.com. Again, that's nightcallers_BTR@yahoo.com. And tonight we are going to hear from Alan Megargle from Ohio, and I'm going to let Graz tell you all about it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Night Callers Bigfoot Radio presents Alan Megargle of Fathom Frontiers of Ohio. Alan Megargle is one half of the cryptid paranormal investigative team of Fathom Frontiers and has been investigating reports of the strange and unusual with his research partner, Jesse Morgan, for the last 7 years. The Fathom Frontiers team works out of Cleveland, Ohio area, and often teams up with some of the top investigators in the state. Alan is a member of the Ohio Bigfoot Organization and manages the audio-video production of the annual Ohio Bigfoot Conference. 4 years ago, Fathom Frontiers teamed with Sharon Lee, the Bigfoot field reporter, to form Bigfoot Adventure Weekend, a 4-day, 3-night, all-inclusive, family-friendly Bigfoot Campout Weekend, currently held once a year. In 2013, Jesse and Alan formed the online retail company Grassman Gear that sells various Bigfoot-related merchandise, including their own line of custom T-shirts and accessories. In September 2014, Alan joined the Small Town Monsters crew to produce the documentary Manerva Monster. Alan did a lot of the filming and all of the editing for the film that was released in May of 2015. The film is currently being distributed through the Grassman Gear online store. Future film projects are planned for the Small Town Monsters crew in 2015 as they continue to work on promoting and selling the Manerva Monster documentary. And thank you very much.
All right. Alan, are you there?
Hold on.
Tro, thank you.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. Sorry, Blog Talk's acting a little bit weird tonight. So again, we are really, really glad to have you on the show tonight. Really excited.
I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. I'm surprised I have time to talk to you guys with all that list of things I have to do.
I know. You're very busy, it sounds like. I know you have apparently all those things going on. So at any time you want to go ahead and say those links or those websites, feel free. And then I'm going to also drop them in the chat so that people can go visit those sites, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. I better get started now. It might take me 2 hours to cover all the links for everything.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. We'll limit it to a few, don't worry.
All right. I mean, it's awesome that you're doing so much work in the community through all of this, you know?
Yeah, just, one thing led to another, and, if I see an opportunity, someone says, hey, do you want to do this? I usually say, sure.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So if you want to, I think Henry is actually doing my job for me and dropping all of them in the chat. So that's pretty awesome. He seems like a big fan of yours and is a huge promoter. So
yeah, big shout out to Henry May. He's a good buddy. He comes to the Ohio conference every year, and we get to see him. Yeah. Thank you, Henry.
Yep. He's a good guy to have around. All right. Well, if you don't mind, I would just like to jump right in.
Sure. All
right. It says that you've been researching with Jesse for about 7 years now. Is that when your interest in this topic started, or is that just when you started researching with him?
Well, it goes way back. Jesse and I have been friends since he moved next door to me in the summer before first grade. So we've known each other since we were little kids, and we've been getting into mischief ever since. As little kids, we used to, see Bigfoot everywhere, even before it was popular like it is now. We used to watch all the In Search of TV show and all those kinds of things. And I don't know, we've been doing some paranormal stuff for maybe 10 years now. We've been to the Mansfield Reformatory here in Ohio, and we actually had some stuff happen there, and we had interest in paranormal and Bigfoot and all that, aliens and UFOs, just pretty much our whole lives. So we just kind of gravitated towards it. It kind of picked us, I guess.
Right.
We were doing an adventure in upstate New York. My parents live up there, up in the Adirondacks, and we were going up just to visit my parents one summer. And I started looking around for something fun to do. We had just done a big ghost hunt and had a lot of fun doing that. So I thought, well, we're up in the middle of mountains. I wonder if there's any Bigfoot sightings. So I started looking around, and of course, there's tons of Bigfoot sightings. So we found a place over near Whitehall, and we did a hike up this mountain, and it was listed as an advanced hike, and we were not hikers, but we tried it anyway, even though it was 90 degrees out, and we got, I don't know, it says 3 miles, but it's 2.5 miles straight up. So we were making our way up the trail, and we heard some crazy noises up above the ridge in front of us, cracking and thrashing around, and we didn't know what to make of it, so we cautiously made our way up to the top of this hill, and there's this green leaf tree sapling, maybe 4 inches round, twisted off about 6 feet in the air, and just kind of bench right over the trail. There's like sap dripping out of it and everything. And we just thought it was really weird that something, there's no wind that day, or the weather was nice, and we just thought it was really weird that it was blocking our way up the mountain. And we were noobs, and we were exhausted, and we were running out of water already, and we just kind of went around the tree, paid it no attention, but the whole time we kind of felt like something was there. And we got to, I don't know, it was starting to get dark, and we got to a sign that said there's 0.9 miles left to go. And we said, okay, that's enough. That's enough. We're going back to the car. So we came back home to Ohio, and we always kind of thought, boy, we think we might have missed an opportunity up there, or something weird happened, and we didn't even try or attempt to do anything. We were just too worried about survival, I guess. So that's when we started looking up Bigfoot stuff in Ohio, and lo and behold, there's lots of stuff in Ohio. So we got hooked up with the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and I guess it kind of rest is history.
Right. Well, that's a pretty cool way to get started. I love hearing different ways to get started. Everyone, they had a sighting, or they would go to the library and check it out. The Patterson-Gimlin film, or In Search Of, is another one. So have you ever had a sighting?
Well, since we hooked up with some of the guys in Ohio here that really kind of know where to go, they have they do all the witness interviews and stuff all across the state. They put us in some pretty hairy situations from time to time, and I haven't actually seen one per se, but I had something on the thermal one night that I can't explain. It was very large, and it looked to me like it was laying down on the ground behind a tree. We were out in the middle of nowhere, and it was March. It was 20-some degrees outside, so I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I don't think there was anybody else out there, and it was strange that it appeared to be maybe flat on its belly. And we've been hearing wood knocks and even a couple howls come from the woods that night, so I don't know if that was one or not, but I kind of tell myself it was. But I can't say conclusively.
Right. So have you had any other experiences, howls, I'm sure you've been out researching quite a bit, so. Yeah, we've had, rocks and stuff thrown at us. We've heard those clacking and wood knocking. We've heard a few wood knocks that were close and clearly not trees coming down. It was, rhythmic and really, really loud, not like something a person could do. We've heard howls and stuff before. We've been with some people that have done some Bigfoot calls, and we've gotten responses. Again, out in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. You don't usually think of Ohio as being real wooded, but when you get down to southern Ohio, you could get lost down there for sure. And I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. And it doesn't take much to get lost in the woods. I mean, people who haven't grown up in the woods, they kind of underestimate it, but I'm from southwest Oklahoma, where everything is in mile plots. It's straight roads. So when I moved to East Texas and would get on the four-wheeler, I would have to follow all the trails because I didn't know my way around. It's really easy, and it can get really spooky, I guess. Oh yeah.
Well, when Jesse and I go out a lot, Jesse's got a military background, so he's really savvy in the woods, and he's methodical about his research, and I'm more of a, hey, what was that? And I kind of wander off. So I get myself lost a lot. I'll wander off, and then when I get back to some area I don't know, I'm like, oh wow, what's over here? Wait, what's over there? And before you know it, I turn around, where in the heck am I?
Well, he sounds like a good partner to have to keep you in line.
He is. He makes me carry a... What was that?
ADHD squatching. Look, a bird.
Exactly. Yeah, ooh, a bird. So he makes me carry a radio, so we can keep in contact. He can try and find me, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun. That really does. So has he had a sighting, or is it just no?
He's pretty much
in
the same boat. Yeah, same boat as me. He's had some pretty exciting nights out doing some research too. We split up a lot, and we work with other people, so we'll be in teams of 2 or 3 sometimes. And he was in a team one night that whatever our team was doing was pushing some kind of wildlife towards him. We're not sure what, but it sounded like it was throwing rocks at them, and it was splashing into the water, and it got us all excited.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So it sounds like you're still kind of learning it sounds like you've been doing it for 7 years, but, I think we're always learning. I forgot where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
Well, that's true. I'm like that in all areas of my life. So I'm never satisfied. I'm never happy. I'm always pushing. I get to a level and I say, okay, well, what's next? Let's keep going. So, yeah, there's lots of good people to learn from here in Ohio. The local BFRO folks, Mark Mazel and Mark DeWorth, and some of those folks have been really kind to us, taking us under the wing and kind of showed us and taking us along on some, eyewitness interviews, and that's where I really kind of got interested in more of that. It's a fun, and I love going out looking for Bigfoot, but there's just nothing like talking to an eyewitness and being at the spot where they had some kind of encounter and just kind of going through it with them. I think that really makes me kind of a believer of the whole subject. I don't think photo or video or even DNA will really prove Bigfoot to the world, but when you listen to some of these people that have seen it, you can just tell they're not crazy, and something really life-changing happened to them, and that's what really drives me.
Definitely. A lot of these people, these shows on Blog Talk are vital for these people because they feel like they're not alone, they're not crazy. They can call in and get it off their chest, or just listen to other people and know that they're not the only one.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how Jesse and I have gotten a little bit of a local popularity going, because we have, like you mentioned in the intro, we have this Grassman gear brand. It was a T-shirt idea that Jesse had, and we kind of ran with it. And we do a lot of the Bigfoot events around Ohio where we'll have a vendor table and we'll be, selling our T-shirts and stuff. But we find that people kind of gravitate towards us because we'll talk to people. Everyone has a story, and sometimes it's hard to find people that'll listen to it. So we enjoy that part of Grassman gear, not so much the selling, but talking to the people and interacting with the public. It's fascinating. A lot of people like to criticize Bigfoot publicly, but behind closed doors, they're like, so what's really going on? They're really curious. Just about everyone is like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was that?
Just a little warning to everybody: Blog Talk Radio is messing around with their audio systems, so you're going to hear some strange things every once in a while.
I guess that was really weird.
And you're interviewing me, so you'll hear some really strange things.
That's true. So
Ellen's having an effect on the show.
I guess so. Maybe we should have you run it. Sounds like you're pretty good at all that.
Is my audio coming through okay?
Yeah, you sound great. You're clear.
Okay, good.
So you've been helping out with the Ohio conference for a while, it sounds like?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a movie for quite some time, and I invested in a really good video camera setup a number of years ago. And I noticed at at the first conference that I attended, I don't remember the year now, but it was I think the first year Bob Gimlin came to Ohio, and Don Keating was running the conference, and I noticed he had a little camcorder in the back, and he would just kind of press record, and then he would just do the whole presentation, and then he would fit it on a DVD afterwards. And I thought, why don't I do that with a better camera and actually edit it and make it a little nicer? So I asked him if he'd be interested in that, and he was. So I volunteered to do that, and then when Mark DeWorth took over the conference duties, I kind of came along for the ride too.
That's pretty cool.
I wasn't sure which Ohio conference you were talking about, but it seems like there's three of them nowadays.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's getting a bit crowded here in Ohio. Yeah.
And do you work mostly with Mark on his, or do you kind of float around between them?
No, I really just work with Mark DeWorth's conference. I have so many other things going on. I have to limit what I do because it's not just filming of the day of the conference, but then I've got 6 hours worth of video to put together afterwards, so that's time consuming too.
Right.
Right.
So, what possessed you to make a movie?
Well, like I said, I've always wanted to make a film. I'm a big horror movie fan, like 70s kind of horror movies and stuff, and I always envisioned doing something like that. But we were at a a Bigfoot festival in Latonia, Ohio last year, and kind of a new, at least to us, he was new to the Bigfoot world. He runs the Sasquatch podcast, Seth Breedlove. He was there, and he kind of came up and introduced himself to us, and he talked to us for quite a while, and we really hit it off, and we decided to take him to one of our Bigfoot spots and do a little Bigfooting, because he at the time really wasn't a Bigfooter, he was a podcaster. So we met up one Saturday, and we did that, and he recorded the whole thing in the field with his phone and actually made a podcast out of it. So he was interviewing us like in the woods as we're squatching, and the podcast is really cool. It's one of my favorite interviews that we've ever done. But we really hit it off, and we decided to have dinner one night because he had a proposition for us, and he told us about this research he'd been doing for what he was going to do. It was a book called Manerva Monster, but he had decided when he met us and saw all the equipment that we had that maybe this was a better movie than it was a book. So we kind of entered a partnership that night and decided to make this movie. And probably 2 weeks later, we were actually out in Manerva filming interviews. So it was really quick once we decided to do it.
And just in case, like in my case, I haven't seen the movie yet. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what it's about and what the premise is?
You haven't seen the movie yet? Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
We'll have to fix that. No, it's centered around a small town in Ohio called Minerva. It's south of Cleveland, east of Canton, Ohio, kind of nestled in between Columbus and, well, not Columbus, but Canton and Pennsylvania. And they had a family down there that had a rash of Bigfoot activity on their property just outside of town in 1978. And one night they had what they described as a troublesome amount of activity where this thing was seen in the window in the back of the house, and rocks were hitting the house, and there was a lot of noise, and they saw this creature under the light in their backyard going up the hill, and they actually called the police. So the police come out, and the sheriff gets there, and he gets out of the car, and he smells a weird smell in the air, and he's looking around, and he meets up with the family, and they're terrified, and he does a whole investigation, and the next morning, the Akron Beacon newspaper pulled all the police reports from the area and happened to see that police report from Minerva, so they came on the scene the next day and did a whole story on it, which kind of then boomed, and there was national media attention coming down on the town. They actually had some news stations from overseas, like Japan, I believe it was, came over and did a story on it. And then all these people showed up to this family's house with like guns and beer and Doberman pinschers wanting to go in the woods and hunt Bigfoot. And it turned into this big whole ordeal. But what's fascinating about the story is, and as Seth was researching it, he was starting to find that it was getting hard to find information out about this. A lot of people had never heard of it before. And actually, when we got down there our first day of filming, they had like a Oktoberfest and a car show and all this stuff going on downtown. Just, it just happened to be that way when we got there. We didn't plan it that way. So we started going around on the street, interviewing, tell us about the Manerva Monster. And the general response was, the what? People had no idea. And in 1978, it was all over the newspapers and the whole town knew about it. So it was kind of interesting for us to make this movie, and we actually showed it in Minerva, and now the whole town knows about it again. So we kind of brought it back from the dead almost. So it's pretty cool, and it's a very interesting story. I highly recommend that you check it out just for the Bigfoot tale, if nothing else. We made it a point to not do what everyone else was doing. There's no kind of recreations. We don't have anybody in a suit running around. There's no CGI. Or we even decided not to do any kind of narration. So the movie literally starts with the witness talking. We interviewed the sheriff. We interviewed the lady, the newspaper reporter, and then some other more recent sightings and some that were even older sightings. And we just let all the witnesses tell the story. And it was like kind of a new spin to do it, and people seemed to really like it.
And you can get this on your website. I've heard everybody talking about it. I'd be interested in watching that. It's basically almost like a mini documentary, but not necessarily.
Yeah, it's about 55 minutes long. I would classify it as a documentary. Yeah, we have it on the Grassman Gear site, DVD and Blu-ray, and you can also get it on Vimeo if you search Manerva Monster, and you can live stream it. I don't know the current price on it right now, but I think it's $5 or maybe even less to view it once.
And you've got a whole list of things. What's up with Sharon Lee? You guys still doing the Bigfoot Adventure Weekend?
Yeah, we did Bigfoot Adventure Weekends maybe about a month ago now, I think. Yeah, down at Salt Fork State Park again, and it's a real good time. We have some of our more seasoned friends come down, and we just do all kinds of Bigfoot stuff. We have some little seminar things where we talk about track casting and trail cam setup and evidence collection and all that good stuff. And then the big event that everyone likes is we gather into multiple teams with radios and night vision, thermal equipment, and we all go out all throughout the night doing all these different kind of Bigfooting, Sasquatching, I guess, going squatching. And it's been growing in popularity. We try to cap it at about 25, 30 people so that we can kind of give everybody their own little taste of Bigfoot. And we cater it towards people that have never really done it before. We get a lot of folks that, hey, I bought a tent last week. Can you help me set it up? They've never really been out to do anything like this, and it's very family friendly, and it's just to have fun. It's a Bigfoot weekend, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they watched Finding Bigfoot, and then they heard about this. So let's go out and have a little bit of fun, try to learn how to do this.
Exactly, and we try to, tell them, and kind of teach them the right way to do it. And we even bring the Salt Fork Naturalist comes down and does a real nice program. We talk about, kind of, here's the things that we know are in nature, so you don't misidentify things. And we try to make it educational and fun. It's a serious weekend, but it's a lot of fun. We don't try to make it feel too serious for people, but I think we do a good job. We've had, some people go on and kind of join other groups, and they're Bigfooters now, so that's kind of cool.
Well, I'm always impressed, surprised, but impressed at how organized Ohio in general is. When you're talking about all the groups, all the separate groups that are all over the place, the organized events that everybody has. You have several groups that are going to libraries, and it's almost like Ohio is becoming Bigfoot Central.
Yeah, and Salt Fork State Park has kind of become like the hub. And we don't usually go to Salt Fork to go Bigfooting, though we do occasionally. We go there to meet all the other Bigfooters, and that's where we kind of compare notes and go out to our other areas, and then we come back and kind of converge on Salt Fork and compare notes again. So, yeah, it is there is some cooperation, and we're still working on it. We're trying to bridge the gaps between some of the groups and kind of bring things together, and we're always trying to organize activities that we can kind of all participate in. So we're working on it. We're still a work in progress, but I'm really proud of the Bigfoot community here in Ohio, for sure.
That's awesome. That's
Good
awesome.
one.
I wish the community was more unified.
Yeah, in general, even just across the United States would be nice. Yeah, because I think Jesse and I try to include everybody. We try not to voice too many negative opinions, and we just want to be open to all different kinds of ideas. So we've talked to a lot of people in different states, and it's amazing the similarities across the country of activity or sightings or any of that kind of stuff.
Right. I just kind of feel like we all kind of lose sight of why we're all doing this. It's you have your hoaxers, you have your liars and stuff like that, but I feel like we should all be in it for the same reason, help out the witnesses, kind of get this topic more known, which, Finding Bigfoot has definitely done. Sounds like you're definitely doing your part to get this topic known.
I'm almost trying to counteract Finding Bigfoot, and we're trying to.
That's a good attitude. Counteract it.
Yeah, we're trying to counteract the Finding Bigfoot, and we started doing a hike with the Naturalist. It's a Bigfoot night hike at Salt Fork State Park, and we started doing that. It's free to the public. We don't get paid for it anyway. It's just kind of a community outreach for us. And we try to get just regular folks, maybe some of the outlier people. Oh, I watched Finding Bigfoot. It's hilarious, and I thought I'd come and check this out. But we actually take them, it's only an hour-long hike, and we don't go very far in the woods. But we talk about the history of Ohio and, and talk about some of the real sightings. And it's been a huge success. We have somewhere around 200 people that show up. So we've had to start splitting it up into groups so that we can manage that kind of. It's impossible to walk through the woods look for Bigfoot with 200 people behind you. So we actually have our.
Well, Matt Moneymaker has tried it.
Yes, I know. Well, we actually have our first Salt Fork Bigfoot hike this Saturday. So we're really excited to get back in there and hopefully we get another great turnout.
Man, that sounds awesome. Can you imagine if all the groups in all the states tried to do something like that to get the public more into it safely instead of, I'm going to go out here and bang on some trees and whoop and holler, get them into it and educate them about nature a little bit?
Yeah, so
awesome.
That was one of the big components for me is when we started doing some of these hikes with the Naturalist at our Bigfoot Adventure weekends, I started realizing that I wanted to know more about that kind of stuff because, we're out in the woods, it's beautiful out there, and I got my head on the ground looking for tracks, and I'm missing everything around me, So there's actually a program run by Ohio State University called the Ohio Volunteer Naturalist, and it's a 6-week program, and I took that last year in October, and every week there's I think it's a 7 or 8 hour class once a week for 6 weeks, and they bring in all these people. Like we have a whole class on horticulturist, and he tells us all about the plants, and we meet with a guy that talks all about fish and spiders and snakes, and every day there's all these different presentations, and it was really cool. And now I'm able to volunteer not only as a naturalist in Ohio, which I'm currently doing in a few different parks, but I can also use that knowledge to at Bigfoot Adventure weekends and at these Bigfoot hikes to help educate people on some of the regular wildlife. Not everything is Bigfoot, as we tell people.
Right. Definitely. So what are some of the things you teach them? I know you said you go over the history, you go over some sightings. Do you teach them about, tree breaks or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much, the core group here in Ohio tries to stay away from the tree breaks for the most part. I mean, I've seen some that it's hard to ignore, but for the most part, I try not to pay too much attention to them. I just think it's too likely that it happened naturally. I mean, we have seen some that were in strange places and were so overtly not natural that it was hard to ignore. But we try to stay away from the tree breaks as best we can.
Sorry, I include formations. When I say breaks, I meant formations as well, which, it's those are in the air because they can be man-made, and so a lot of people discount them. But I was just wondering what all you kind of taught the group and nature Bigfoot-wise.
We definitely do talk about it like that. We almost tongue-in-cheek with the tree breaks, though. We teach them by saying, "Oh, that must have been Bigfoot," when it's clearly just the wind damage. We kind of tease our attendees a little bit to get them out of that habit of every single branch that's on the ground came from Bigfoot.
Right. So have you had anyone out there that has come forward after or during your little trek to tell you an experience?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of, well, not a lot, but we've had some of that. Yeah, for sure. We started scheduling some free time in during the weekend, so that we could, take people around, because a lot of the people have sightings there at Salt Fork, so we're already there. And hey, just down the road, I had this thing, so we'll take the time and actually, all right, everyone, we'll have an hour break or whatever. You guys can go, get something to eat and relax, whatever, and then we'll take that person over and actually check it out and see what they have to say. So, yeah, we have that for sure.
That sounds pretty cool. So the walks are, I'm sorry if you already said this, I missed it. Are they just a day walk, or do you stay overnight? Do you have weekend treks?
For the Naturalist hike that we're doing this weekend? No, it's just a nighttime hike. We have one at 8:30 p.m. and then we do another one at 9:30 where we don't allow the kids to come because we've had some people that were a little more serious and they didn't like the kids hooping and hollering because that's the one thing the kids really want to do. So we'll get a point on the trail and we'll let the kids go nuts for a little bit just to have some fun. So
that's pretty awesome. Get the youngsters in it.
I'm curious about if you continue, or if all of these groups around Ohio continue with the education program. Have you thought that possibly Ohio might end up more like a theme park of an atmosphere? Too many people hitting the woods, a lot of people out there doing the wood knocks and the whoops, things like that, and pretty much mucking up the system.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. That's kind of the running joke at Salt Fork is you throw a rock in the woods, you're liable to hit someone else that's looking for Bigfoot. So, right. I mean there is some of that. That's why we have different groups in kind of different areas, and we try to spread ourselves out as best we can. And most of the groups are pretty good about communicating on Facebook. You know, we have an outing this weekend, kind of in this area, just so you know there's people out there. But yeah, that's a possibility too.
I'm thinking more of an exponential factor where people are going to libraries and whatnot and having mini conferences and explaining things to people. And you got 50 people there, and then they go out from there, and they're getting their friends involved. And on these weekends and stuff, it just seems to be an exponential factor where you're going to have a ton of people, especially with finding Bigfoot out there. This is one of the things a lot of people have brought up. Is will the woods become oversaturated with a lot of Bigfoot hunters and revelers and all this kind of thing?
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet, but it's a good point, and it might be going down that road.
And then you have to factor in all the kids out there is going to be doing all the jokes and the hoaxes and all that kind of stuff just for fun.
Yeah.
But, you get that with anything, But you got to think, too, people are going to leave and go tell their friends, and their friends are going to be like, well, there's apes in the woods, right? So.
Yeah, that still happens, too.
Yeah, I get that one a lot from people. So when I'm back to the naturalist hikes. When you take them out there, is there anything that you tell them not to do?
Yeah, one of the things we talk about is from a naturalist standpoint, a lot of people like to put bait out. And while the Bigfoot may love a candy bar, it's not good for the raccoons and the deer and the other wildlife. So that's one of the things we really try to discourage is people leaving food out in the woods. That's the big one. I mean, we touch on some other things, like I said, the tree structures and just other sounds. We try to cover some of the normal night sounds so people don't jump to conclusions. I think we do a pretty good job, but we're always looking to improve.
Right. I know. I would just be. I can just picture me out there. I would be an advocate for leave it cleaner than when you came. Try not to mess with stuff too much. Try not to damage the woods. You know what I mean? Because there's just all these survival shows where they're making huts with wood, and I'm like, can you just imagine how many people are out there just butchering these habitats to try to play survivor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big advocate of the leave no trace behind. I don't know that we preach that as much as we should, but I guess I'm going to add that to Saturday. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I mean, we're just
Bigfoot
huge
isn't all that
for that.
good about doing that himself. Bigfoot has a tendency to go around crashing things and breaking things. I always thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And when I find him, I'm going to have a stern talking to him about that too.
Definitely. Yeah, but he probably eats the animals' habitats that he's destroying. So, and he doesn't litter. Littering is a big pet peeve. Anyway, we do have a question from the chat. Lori103 wants to know, has the guest ever been to, and I'm going to butcher this, I'm so sorry, Cuyahoga Falls?
Cuyahoga Falls?
I was close. Cuyahoga Falls Park, and if so, have you found anything there or heard any stories about it?
I'm not familiar with Cuyahoga Falls Park. That area is where the Cuyahoga Valley National Park is, and yeah, we've been down there. We've had some footprint finds. We had an instance where we were trading some kind of wood knocking for almost 45 minutes, and the further we tried to, or the closer we tried to get to it, the further it seemed to move away from us. So we did have some interesting stuff out in that area. I'm not sure about that park in particular. A lot of times, like I said, I kind of end up I start in one park and end up in another. So.
All right.
Okay, as you're teaching all these people, what do you consider to be evidence, actual scientific evidence that you can collect for yourself and that you want to teach these people?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. We have taught people and talked to people about DNA collection, but the big issue with that is where do you send it once you get it? Not everybody has access to that. So I think what still remains the best evidence across the country, the world even, is the footprint evidence. In Ohio, it's very rare and very hard to find a footprint, but we have found some pretty convincing footprints out of here. I definitely say that's probably the number one. Obviously, any kind of actual sighting would be preferred. That's probably it.
Do you teach them anything as far as how to actually get yourself into a position of having a sighting? Do you have any kind of philosophy behind that yourself?
We get into it a little bit, yeah, but some of the philosophy that we implement in the field is not necessarily something I would want everybody to go out and do, because the number one thing would be, you want to be out there after dark, and it's a whole different world out there, and you really have to be careful out there. The wildlife that comes out, the natural wildlife that comes out after dark is a lot different than what you see during the day. And we do a lot of stuff without flashlights and that kind of thing. So we do cover some, but not all of it.
Oh,
it's not for the faint of heart.
I just heard that a little birdie is on the phone. What's his phone number? Let's see here.
817.
Okay. Henry. Henrik?
Henry.
Henrik.
Oh.
Well, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
You got to hit the button first.
Oh, Blog Talk's still messing around. I hit the button and we all waited.
Oh, okay. Well, how y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Henry?
Doing good. And, of course, Alan, I know you've been busy. You've been very busy lately. I know you guys just got through shooting Beast of Whitehall. I'm looking forward to seeing that, by the way.
Yes, we did. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Yep, and I want to recommend right now, everybody go to ManervaMonster.com and order the DVD or the Blu-ray. They do have it available, or on Vimeo. You can also order it on Vimeo, or watch it on Vimeo. So, I mean, one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long time. It's really terrific, Manerva Monster. So, but anyway. What all witnesses did y'all talk to for Beast of Whitehall?
Well, thanks, by the way, Henry, for the plug there. We talked to Brian Gosling, who was the Whitehall police officer who showed up shortly after the original sighting on Aber Road in Whitehall in 1976. and he actually had his own sighting of the creature that happened to still be there when he arrived. We talked to another witness that he came along after the original witnesses and before the police officer did. And he's actually not spoken to anyone before. I'm not quite sure how we managed to find someone new in a 40-year-old case, but we did. And I think you'll find his story really fascinating. I don't want to spoil too much about what he says, but he has not publicly spoken about it ever.
Oh, wow.
And then we talked to a couple of the local Bigfoot investigators, Paul Bartholomew, who was on the Finding Bigfoot this past Sunday, or 2 Sundays ago. And we also talked to William Brand.
Yeah.
And he actually...
familiar... I'm sorry, go ahead, Alan.
Well, William Brand actually gave us some audio from that was recorded the day after it happened in 1976, and it's actually audio of the witnesses that are no longer with us. So we actually have the voice of some people that we couldn't interview, and that's going to be really cool to show too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, NH Swatch in the chat room mentions the greenskeeper of the local golf course. That was Cliff Sparks. He saw one there in Whitehall.
Yeah, we touched on that story briefly. It is kind of on the New York Vermont border, just at the southern tip of Lake Champlain, just outside of the Adirondack Park. I mean, by outside, I mean maybe a mile or two. So it's up there.
Now, are you familiar with a book called Monsters of the North Woods, which details all of that? I mean, they talk about the Whitehall sightings. They talk about sightings at Kinderhook and other places, and even in Vermont.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's the book that William Brand and Paul Bartholomew wrote together.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not familiar with it. I tend to not do a lot of research on this stuff when we're going out to film. I don't know. I like surprises. I like to hear the story from the witnesses. Something about knowing everything ahead of time kind of spoils it for me. So I hadn't really done much research, and I hadn't heard of it. But when we met William Brand, he showed us a copy of the book, and told us about it. And when we were done interviewing that day, I got back to the car. I got on my phone and ordered one from Amazon. So I do have it now, but I have not.
All right. Yeah, good man. Yeah, it's a great book. I've had my copy for over 20 years, and it's a great book about that particular area of the country. Really is. Yeah,
and both the guys that wrote that were great interviews, and Paul Bartholomew actually kind of wrote a follow-up to that, which I also got, and it has a little bit of the newer sightings in there, and it looks to be a pretty good book too. Yeah, he and his brother co-wrote that one too. They were also authors on Monsters of the North Woods. So let's see now. So you guys have done Manerva Monster. Now you're doing Beast of Whitehall. I'm sure there's going to be more small town, creatures that are going to be profiled by you guys. Well, that's the plan. I mean, we're working on a shoestring budget, so we need to raise some money to make the next movie, and we'll need to raise some money to actually get the Beast of Whitehall released. So at some point here, probably later this year, we'll be doing probably a Kickstarter campaign to raise the money to get the DVDs and all that good stuff printed for the Beast of Whitehall. And yeah, we have 2 more pretty much lined up to go after that. I'm not ready to say yet what, but I think you'll be really excited for both. And then I think that'll probably open up some more doors, and we'll just keep going as long as we can. We love doing it, and I think you'll find, especially with the Beast of Whitehall, that we're going to be getting better as we go along. And I think you'll maybe 2-3 movies down the road, we're going to be getting pretty good at this.
Well, it sounds great, and I highly recommend everybody go to Oh gosh, y'all got a lot of websites. You got Grassman Gear and Manerva Monster, Small Town Monsters, FathomFrontiers.com, BigfootAdventureWeekends.com. So yeah, I mean, you guys are doing great. Keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot, Henry.
Sure. Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for calling. You don't want to give a shout out to the Ohio Bigfoot Conference and all the work that...
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, I mean, those guys do a heck of a job. I mean, Mark and you know, Alan and Jesse and everybody. Yeah, they do a terrific job. Alan and Jesse, they do all the audio. They hooked up all the audio equipment and stuff too. You know, they hooked up you know, audio visual. I mean, they do a tremendous job on that, and they also do a tremendous job, you know, filming the presentations, all the presentations for each conference. So.
And you're probably still waiting to see those, aren't you, Henry? I'm sorry about that. I was making a movie, but the next week or two, you'll be able to download those.
I talked to Mark a few weeks ago. He said it'd be about 2 or 3 weeks before those are released. So and that was 2 weeks ago.
The masses at bay right now, I guess.
I'm looking forward to that. I really am, because this year's conference was really terrific, and you guys are doing tremendous work. So keep, like I say, keep it up.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks for taking my call, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks for calling in, Henry. Bye.
Bye, Henry.
What a guy. He's like a walking Bigfoot community dictionary. Very handy. He keeps us all abreast on what's going on, what new movies are out, what new conferences are going on. It's pretty handy information to have.
Well, someone's got it.
I know it sounds like he's your biggest supporter or biggest fan. So
yeah, it's funny when we first released Manerva Monster. And we premiered it at the Bigfoot conference, and Henry was in attendance. I was already thinking before the movie started, oh, I wonder what he's going to say on YouTube. I hope he likes it. I hope he likes it.
That critique. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we're all worried about what Henry's going to say. That's cool.
We lucked out that he liked it.
About time we went to intermission for a little while. Give everybody a break. Go up and get some candies, get some Coke, get some popcorn.
Brad is old. He's got to go to the bathroom.
What? Yeah, Billy chimes
Sorry.
in.
I know. I can't help it. Anyways, so we're going to go to intermission real quick. I have no idea how long it is, probably 5 minutes or so. Ladies, while we're gone, just go ahead and IM me, and I'll give you Graz's personal information, number, address, social, that kind of thing. And when we come back, we are going to hear more from Alan.
Okay, it's going to be 7 minutes and 3 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. See you on the other side.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Hope we got up and what we needed on our break. Glad to have you back. Alan, are you with us?
I am.
Oh, good deal. Alan, I just want to tell you I've really enjoyed having you on the show tonight, and you've been a really interesting guest.
Thanks a lot. That 7 minutes gave me some time to run out in the woods real quick. I didn't really find anything, though. But
They say it's the thought that counts, though, so that counts.
Yeah.
Alan, I'm interested in your research. Could you tell me a little bit about it? As far as some of the investigations and things that you've done?
Sure. The last 9 or 10 months has been basically researching stuff for movies. So we haven't done a whole lot lately because we've been wrapped up in this whole movie thing. But I've kind of found that's actually research in a way. We're talking to witnesses, and it's more of a historical look at things. But that's kind of where we've been lately. We originally started was maybe 7 years ago now, and what we would do is we'd kind of troll the BFRO website, and when some new report from Ohio would come up, we would try to pinpoint where it was, the best you can from there, and we would head out in that area and look around for evidence. So that was kind of what we were doing for the first couple of years, because we didn't have any source of our own reports or anything, just being new people. And then when we got hooked up with some of the local guys, we started tagging along with some of their investigations. And then kind of what we learned from that, we kind of got an idea on, maybe here's some areas we could go that are close to where some of these investigations were. So we kind of started branching out on our own and kind of came full circle. It started out on our own, and then we kind of ended up on our own. But we do a lot of stuff in the daytime.
Yes.
I like to hike around in day, looking for evidence and that kind of stuff. And nighttime is a whole different animal. You're not really looking for evidence at that point. You're more trying to lure something in towards you.
Right.
We kind of do the two types.
Oh,
I prefer to do the nighttime stuff with a little bit bigger group. I feel a little better safety in numbers out there, but but Jesse and I will do some stuff on our own from time to time.
No, I agree with you. I'm in the same boat on the nighttime researching. What all evidence have you found through these investigations on the reports that have come in?
Well, we found some footprint evidence over the years. We found a handprint one time on the side of one of those old Windstream trailers.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only physical evidence. You don't normally find a lot of that. I mean, we've seen some hair, but I don't think it was Bigfoot, so we didn't take it or anything.
Right. And if I understand correctly, you got started at an early age with an interest in Bigfoot. Was that correct, sir?
Yeah, we did. We didn't really act on it too much. When we were little kids, we used to sit in the backyard, and there was like this field with tall grass, and then in the very back of it, a little patch of woods, and the way the trees kind of created this shadow that looked like Bigfoot. We used to always say, "Oh, I think Bigfoot's still back there," and we would joke about it. But it really wasn't until that's 7 years ago when we were up in New York that we really started to take an interest to. A lot of that too was Jesse and I both finished our college degrees in the last 5 years. So we were pretty busy and didn't really have time for a whole lot of other stuff, full-time jobs and school. And it wasn't until those kinds of things started to end and we had some free time that we found some stuff to do with it.
Right. Yeah, there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, you are a busy man with a lot of irons in the fire, but what's next? What do you see coming next that you want to do?
Well, we're definitely going to be doing some more film stuff. Like we said, we just filmed The Beast of Whitehall last week, so that's going to probably take a good part of the rest of the year to put that all together. We're going to probably be expanding our Grassman gear store. We've been trying to come up with some new T-shirt designs and get some other products out there. People seem to like what we're doing with that, so we're going to keep going with that. And hopefully I can get back out into the woods more often, too, here in the later part of the summer. We're hoping to get a little Bigfooting in this weekend, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, excellent. Good deal.
Hi, Alan.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Hi,
Alan. How are you doing? Are you enjoying yourself tonight?
I am. You guys are great.
Oh, thanks. We are enjoying you, too. I have about
we even got to talk to Henry. We even got to talk to Henry. What a bonus.
Well, I have some questions for you. Do you mind if I go ahead and jump in? Am I clear enough? Because I've been having trouble with my phone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, we can get started, and if, I get a little nervous, maybe we can back off, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, okay. Have you found a correlation between Bigfoot sightings and UFOs and other paranormal places?
I haven't, but I haven't specifically looked for that either. In my mind, I keep them separate. I think that's the way I want it to be, but I'm open to it if it turns out that's not the way it is. But it's funny when we interviewed the sheriff for Manerva Monster, James Shannon. He told us all about that night in 1978 when the Caton family had all this activity that he showed up to investigate. And then we said, have you had any other strange incidents like that? And he says, I've only filed 2 what the sheriff calls strange incident reports. One of them was the Caton story from 1978. The other one was 2 weeks later, directly across the street from the Catons, where there was a UFO sighting. And he said,
what was it?
He said there were these lights that were above this cornfield, and when he got down there to check it out, he went to turn down the driveway to drive towards the house, and there was 4 feet of corn all across the road, and he couldn't even get down the driveway. So I don't know if they're linked in any way, but I did think that was interesting.
What I find interesting is there has been a lot of connections. Nothing anybody can really prove, but like there's been incidences where people were out there doing Bigfoot research and actually had UFO sightings and a Bigfoot encounter at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Bill, as a matter of fact, the gentleman you were just talking to, had that happen to him.
Right.
That was the last thing they expected to happen. They knew they had Sasquatch in the area, but they did not know they seemed to have a UFO on the same night.
Right. Well, I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people, and some of them are really believable, and I do believe them, and some of them are clearly not. But if a UFO came across the sky and dropped a Bigfoot right in front of me, I don't think I'd be surprised. I'm open-minded enough to be like, okay, that just happened.
I don't know. I still think I would have problems with that. Even if I saw it with my own eyes, I would be like, I don't want to believe that they have anything to do with one or the other. But I kind of feel like, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, that, they see something in the sky, they're going to check it out just like we do. And maybe it's a coincidence that they're there when we are and that kind of thing. So
for sure, there's a proven history through sightings and some evidence, too, that these things the Bigfoot is a very curious creature. I mean, even like I said, one of the evidence we found was a handprint. Well, that handprint was on the side of this Windstream trailer, right where the witness said that it was leaning over, looking in the window at her, and shook the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And the handprint was probably 1.5 times the size of my hand, and I have pretty large hands. So, I think it's a curious creature, and that would make sense. If it actually came out of the UFO, though, that would be something. I'd be ready, though. I would be ready.
Okay. Well, you dabble in all these different areas of the unexplained. Do you do ghost hunts as well as UFOs and Bigfoot? Do you also do paranormal investigations?
Yeah, so right now we are still active in the paranormal investigations. We've never really officially done UFO investigations. I remember there was a time when my parents were away during the summer when we were in high school. Maybe we were 17 at the time. And I was kind of home for a week or so by myself, and Jesse would come over, and we would climb up out the window and go up on the roof and just stare at the sky and look for UFOs. And we would always think, what was that? And it turned out to be a plane or a weird star or something. But we've never really officially done any UFO stuff. But yeah, we don't do anywhere near as much paranormal stuff as we do Bigfoot stuff. But we have some active cases that we're still working on. I would definitely say it's something we do for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, could you share your most phenomenal experience, whether it was ghost-related or Bigfoot-related, something that just your most, what you would consider the event of your lifetime? Could you share that with us?
Well, I'm hoping that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
The event of my lifetime. But no, I would say, we've had a lot of weird stuff happen in the woods at night for sure. There's a lot of things that were really strange. But I think the one that really sticks out was a paranormal event that happened at the Mansfield Reformatory 2 years ago. It's an old prison for you, those you're not familiar with it. It was shut down a long time ago. It's where the Shawshank Redemption was filmed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an old prison, and now they have it turned into, it's more of like a living museum, and they do overnight ghost hunts. So basically, you show up at 8 o'clock, and they give you an hour tour, they turn off all the lights, and they say, have fun. And you can just go explore the whole prison until 5 in the morning when they kick you out. So we've done that a couple times now, and we were with a couple friends of mine, and Jesse was there. And there's an area where it's kind of in between 2 rows of cells. So the cells are facing out. This would be like a walkway where they would fix plumbing and stuff. So there's a little metal walkway that goes in between the cells. And it was pitch black down there, and I had a real powerful flashlight, and I turned it on really high. I think it was like 800 and some lumens, so it lit the whole place up. And at the very opposite end of the walkway, at the very other side, there was like this black mist in the air. And I thought, well, that's really weird. And then just as I thought that, it looked like it turned, and there were these 2 glowing, almost looked like eyes, like orbs in the middle of it. And I thought, what in the world is that? And I kind of leaned in and got the light a little closer, and the thing turned back again, and I swear to you, it went right through the wall. So I thought to myself, what the heck is that? So I immediately ran down to the other side thinking, well, maybe the other side is open like this side, and maybe somebody else walked by. So I get down to the other side, and there's a big metal door, and it's all welded shut. So I was like, whoa, that was freaking weird.
Yes. Oh, have you heard of anyone else seeing that particular phenomenon?
Well, one of the people that I was with was standing right next to me, and I didn't say anything right at first, and I waited to see what she would do, and she immediately was like, "Did you see that?" So, yeah, I have another witness, so I'm not just going crazy.
Wow. That's interesting. So, did you do this paranormal research before the Bigfoot research type thing, or? I know that's how I started. I started out in paranormal research, and then I just ended up moving into a very hot Bigfoot area, and the next thing I know, paranormal has fallen way behind, and all of a sudden I'm a Bigfoot researcher.
Yeah, the Bigfoot thing really sucks you in for sure.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, we kind of dabbled in it. I wouldn't say we were researchers, but we dabbled in it. When I was going to one of the colleges that I went to many years ago, probably 15 years ago, maybe even 18 years ago, somewhere in that range, I was asked in an English class to do a compare and contrast paper, and I thought, well, I want to do something interesting that I like because we do so much boring stuff in school. So I'm going to do it on ghosts, kind of the believe and not believe kind of compare and contrast. So I looked up a couple local things, and there's a local, we call it a metro park. It's a little, state-run park or county-run park, and there's a place called Squire's Castle. It's this old foundation of what was going to be a castle but was never finished. There's some story how the woman of the house died, in the 1800s or something like that. So we went there with my girlfriend, and Jesse went, and we grabbed my dad's video camera, and we were having fun with it and just kind of calling out to the ghosts that supposedly live there. And I was just I wanted something fun to put in my research paper. So we came back and we put the videotape in. At the time it was just a videotape. So we pop it in the VCR and we're watching it. We're laughing at ourselves because we're being goofy. Like, look, we're talking to a ghost that's not even there. And at one point, if you're here, let us know, or something like that. Jesse called out to it. And there's this blood-curdling scream on the audio. And we all just look at each other like, what was
EVP.
that? Yeah, so we played it back, and it was like, yeah, that's definitely, if I would have heard that when I was there, I'd probably still be running. So we play the tape on now where, the hair standing up on the back of our necks. We're really in tune to this, and we're not laughing anymore. And darn it, there isn't, at least 2 more cases on there where this woman was like, no, 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 and it almost sounds like, the moment that she actually died, because she supposedly got spooked by some deer heads or something that were mounted on the wall and tripped down some stairs or something. It almost sounded like we were reliving that moment in time. And I really got interested in paranormal then, even though it was probably a couple of years before we actually got to Mansell for the first time.
Would that be considered like a residual haunting? Isn't that what they call that? When
that's
like
kind of what
plays over the event of a traumatic event, plays it over and over and over, kind of like. Yeah,
that's kind of my theory, and I don't think we were actually interacting with anything, but I think it was some kind of residual thing. But it's funny, we had planned to go to the Mansell Reformatory for years before we actually got the time and actually got organized enough to do it. And one of the Christmases before we actually went, my girlfriend bought me a whole ghost hunting kit for Christmas. Everything you needed, EMF meters, even a case to put it off. So I was ready to go before I actually went out there. So we've been doing that for a while, but it's just basically been dabbling here and there.
Well, could you? It sounds like you and Jesse have known each other for a long time. How did you two meet?
He moved next door to where I lived the summer before we were going into first grade.
Wow. That is a long time to know someone.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Have you ever kind of changed directions here? Have you ever talked to anyone who has seen a dog man?
I don't think I've actually interviewed anyone, but I think I have talked to some people at some of the conferences and that kind of thing. I don't know what to make of the dog man. I haven't spent much time thinking about it, but the fact that it looks like a dog I think would be a lot easier to misidentify. Not to say there isn't a dog man out there, but I'm a little more cautious of that than I am, say, a Sasquatch.
I agree. I think, though, that I may have seen one, and I don't really like talking about it.
I would never argue or dismiss a witness. I mean, if you saw something, I believe it's just, if I was to see something big standing on 2 feet that had a snout, I would think bear right away. I would be really leery about labeling something a dog man. Not to say that, it's not out there.
Exactly. Well, I'm not sure it was what they call a dog man. I don't know what it was I saw. Anyway, I just thought I would ask that question. Have you ever seen the movie Exist?
I did, and I just recently did. We showed it at our Bigfoot Adventure Weekends a month ago, and that was the first time I had seen it. And I'm actually a huge Blair Witch Project fan. I was, at the time that movie came out, I was just completely fascinated by that movie. I ended up seeing it at the theater, I think 5 times with different groups of people, and then I bought the DVD and watched it again, and I thought it was really cool. I liked it a lot.
You really liked the way it was set up and the way they did it in a documentary type style. Is that what you liked about that?
Kind of like the found footage. Yeah. But I think I liked it more from the horror movie buff side of me more than the Bigfoot side of me, I think.
Well, you know what? When I saw the Blair Witch Project, I was contributing. I was thinking, there's a lot of things there that could be contributed to Sasquatch. The noises out in the woods, a lot of different things. Of course, at the time that the Blair Witch Project came out, I was like so obsessed with Bigfoot, it wasn't even funny. So everything was Bigfoot to me. Well, that's probably Bigfoot, and but on the movie Exist, I really, really liked that movie. It scared me. It really scared me. But I was kind of disappointed that it was so violent, because that's not what I get from Sasquatch, is that they're a violent species at all. Unless somebody has, unless they're defending themselves, or if it's a territorial thing. But these people that were in the movie, and I know it was just a movie, but to me it wasn't realistic, because this creature was attacking these people and killing them. killing them. And so how would you have made any kind of improvement on that movie if you had a editing license to it?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, like I said, when I watch a movie, if it's not a documentary, I just turn my Bigfoot mind off, and I just enjoy the movie, and I really liked it. Like I said, I love scary movies, and the cool thing about when I watched that was we watched it at 9:00 at night. It was raining that day, so we had gotten the conference room at the lodge, and right afterwards we all went in the woods and went squatching.
Man!
So I had a group of guys with me, and I kind of got the manly men of the bunch for that hike. And one of the guys, he was like 6'8", like a real big guy, and we're hiking down this trail in the middle of the night. He's like, "Hey Al, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm thinking about that movie right now."
Well,
no, I wouldn't have. I think Eduardo did a great job on that.
Oh, I do too. I absolutely do. But it did its job. It scared me, and it was very realistic. It was very realistic. He really went through a lot of trouble to bring a lot of the characteristics of the species to the movie, and I appreciate that he did that. But I was kind of disappointed too that it went south like it did. I would have much rather it been more realistic, but then it was just a movie. Another killer Bigfoot movie, and I'm like, not another one, really? So,
I understand.
I have considered at several times of doing a similar thing as a Fathom Frontiers. Where you do the outing where you advertise and have people come and bring their camping gear and do kind of like a Bigfoot outing. I thought about doing that. How did you start that up? I mean, how would I go about if I wanted to do something similar down here in Texas?
Well, it's funny. At the time that we started it, I was going to Cleveland State University, and that happened to be where Sharon Lee, the Bigfoot field reporter, was working. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to her one day, and we just in her little office there, and we just kind of came up with this idea to do it. And we were friendly with some of the folks that ran the campground at Salt Fork, so we called them and were able to get some group campground, and we reserved the amphitheater because we wanted to show a movie outside too, which was something that not a lot of people did. So that's how we got started. We just had an idea, and we just started making some calls, and the next thing you know, people are signing up. So
well, how did you advertise it? That's the thing I'm wondering about. Did you do it on Facebook, or how did you let people know? Through the conference?
Right. Well, that's one of the advantages we have is we have the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and there's a lot of people there. So we did advertise there, and we did some Facebook stuff, and Sharon Lee runs her radio show, so we did a show about it, and we just you just kind of do a grassroots, and you use the resources you have to just kind of spread the word.
On your first year, did you have much of a turnout?
No, we probably had 12 people maybe.
Oh, that's
and then we invited
and
then we kind of invited a few more, so I think we ended up with maybe 15. This year it took off, I think, because we have a lot of big projects that are getting a lot of attention on us right now, but it took off, and we tried to cap it at 25, but we ended up with 30 before we could shut off the link to register, and it was a bit much, but we have some ideas on how we can kind of expand it without losing the intimate feel of it. So we're going to play around with that a little bit, I think.
Okay. You mentioned that Texas was on your bucket list. You tell Bill and myself we're from Texas, and we're wanting to know why is Texas on your bucket list.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been invited down to the Texas Bigfoot Conference several times, and that's just something I haven't been able to do. It looks like a good time, and I really would like to get to Boggy Creek. A lot of people, kind of attribute Boggy Creek to them getting into Bigfoot. I actually didn't even really learn too much about Boggy Creek until the last couple years when I finally saw it for the first time. But I really enjoyed the movie, and I'd like to see kind of some of those locations for myself. Plus, it just looks really squatchy. And my favorite Finding Bigfoot episode is Lyle Blackburn out in Boggy Creek. I thought that one was so much fun to watch.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a good area to research down here.
Yeah.
Well, Bill lives right over there, close to there. And Bill, didn't you have a deer lease pretty close to Boggy Creek?
Yeah, I had a lease about 30 minutes outside of Falk, and we had a whole lot of activity there on the property.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I actually had one try to turn my deer stand over with me in it one morning in the dark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
you want to have a scary good time down in Texas, you contact Billy.
Yeah. We'll hook you up.
I might just do that. It's rapidly rising on my bucket list the more you talk here.
Well, between Billy, Rory, and Lauren, you're going to be able to set yourself up with a pretty good little time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds like it.
We can do a live in the field show.
Documentary.
Yeah, we have some really good places to take you.
All right. I'm sure I'll make it out there, and probably within the next year and a half, I'll make it out there.
Oh, I don't think you'll be disappointed. There's such a varying terrain in this state. From where I'm at, I'm up in the corner, kind of between Oklahoma and Arkansas, and Lori's down in the big woods, and it's such varying terrain. There's a lot of squatchy places we could hook you up to go into.
Yeah, you guys have quite a few groups in Texas too that do Bigfoot and stuff. I see a lot of that online.
Yes. And see, about 90% of the land in Texas is private, so it's there are just so many. There's not too many bad places to go if you're looking for squat. There's really not. There's a lot of good
places.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of good places to go and get shot though if you're trespassing.
Well, that's why you get with one of us. We'll smooth it over with the locals.
Yeah. I haven't been shot at yet, so that's not on my bucket list.
Well, Alan, I know some really great places that are state parks that public can go into. Plus, we have national forests down here, and we have 4 different national forests in Texas alone, and it's thousands of acres that it's public you can go into. So there's a lot of these rivers are running through these national forests, and they're hot spots. So there's the Sabine is a hot spot. The Neches River is a hot spot. The Angelina River is a hot spot. We're talking down there in San Houston. Forget what river that is that runs near there. I think it's the Trinity. And you've got all these big major rivers. You've got the Red River, which runs right between the border of Texas and Oklahoma. So, I mean, you could spend feasibly, and I know financially probably be a while before you do it, but you could spend a month down here and barely scratch the surface.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds good. Are you working for the tourism board now?
No, but I'm just saying, Texas needs to be looked at. It really does.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't doubt
Well, that's
that.
your next film.
Yeah, you've got that great camera. Oh, my gosh, me and Bill could fix you up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, we'll put you on the list.
Well, Alan, is there anything you really want to share with us tonight while you have the floor?
Oh, while I have the floor, not really. We've talked about a little bit of everything.
I mean, is there anything that we haven't approached that you really want to share with us? a lot of our guests, they'll come on, and boy, you'd be lucky if you can get a word in. But you've been such a gentleman, and you just answering questions, and but surely there must be something that you want to share with us.
Oh, I don't know.
You want to think about it?
I'm thinking.
I hate to put you on the spot like that.
Well,
okay.
I got a question.
Good. Thanks, Brent. You saved him, Grant. Go for it.
Well, I'm going to dig a little deeper into the philosophical side of it again. I have a tendency to do that. You've had a little bit of experience. You haven't actually seen one, but you've had experience with lots of people, talking to them. You've interviewed a lot of people. You've been out in the field a little bit. What do you think Bigfoot is?
Well, I guess there's what I want it to be, and then what I think it is. I really don't know. I mean, like I said, I try to be open. I've heard a lot of crazy stories of, Bigfoot doing different things, cloaking and all this different stuff. And I don't want to dismiss someone who's a witness. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but if it can do that, it can do that. I can't dispute it. If somebody saw it do it, then maybe it can. But I think it's a flesh and blood animal. I like to hope it's a flesh and blood animal, and
right.
kind of an undiscovered species that could actually be proven someday. Probably, the North American great ape would be what I would hope it would be.
Well, other than the paranormal and the woo-woo and things like that, do you consider it to be possibly maybe a little bit more humanoid rather than an ape?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just about every witness report, there's some aspect to it where you go, well, that's not, normal animal wildlife behavior. It's kind of the curiosity factor, and people getting followed. Most of the normal wildlife, deer and even bear, and they'll run away from people. They really don't want anything to do with it. But this seems to be more open to at least seeing what people are up to. They know you're in the woods when you're in the woods, but they don't run and hide like all the other wildlife. They try to track you and keep track of where you are and what you're doing. That kind of behavior has been pretty consistent in almost all of the reports. So, yeah, I would think it's more than just a monkey.
Right. Now, you've done the Manerva Monster. You've done the Whitehall as basically documentaries. But do you consider that it might evolve over time into something a little bit more explanatory about something along that line?
I don't know. I kind of
so far. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like that me and Jesse are just on this. We're like passengers on this ride, and opportunities come up, and we do them if we can, and we're kind of just are just kind of going with the flow. We try not to really plan too much and be open to new things. So I kind of do the same thing with filmmaking. We go to an area and we talk to some people, and then we come home and figure out what do we have, what's this going to be like. I know the Beast of Whitehall movie is going to be really different from the Manerva Monster movie. Not just the story itself, which is completely different, but the whole tone and the feel and the way we filmed it even was just so completely different. We had an aerial drone this time, and we actually did an entire interview with one of the people with a GoPro while driving around these different spots, and it's just a lot of different kinds of filming was done. The interesting thing too, Manerva was was in 1978, and Whitehall was in 1976, so they were around the same generation of people, the same time frame. And in Manerva, the eyewitnesses were kind of made fun of, chastised, and no one really believed them. And over time, the whole thing was kind of swept under the rug. But in Whitehall, some of the early eyewitnesses of this creature were law enforcement people. The state trooper saw it, the local PD. So it became more of a legend in Whitehall, and it's more embraced down there. I think it's more accepted in Whitehall, and the movie's going to be different in that regard. You'll be able to see that. In Manerva, our first reaction from people was, I don't know what you're talking about. And Whitehall's like, oh, you mean you're talking about what happened over there? And everyone, knows about the sighting, and they know the people that were involved. And there's Bigfoot statues in town in Whitehall, and you're not going to find that kind of thing in Manerva. Well, maybe today you will, but not a year ago before we started all this. So I don't know. I don't know what we'll evolve into.
Sounds like you're almost starting the yearly Bigfoot Beer Fest or something like that in these towns you're visiting.
Well, it was interesting. There's a historic theater in downtown Manerva, and we inquired. The Chamber of Commerce now owns it, so we inquired with them. Well, can we rent the theater? We would like to show the movie to our friends and family, and maybe invite the people from Manerva that were in it. And they said sure, and they gave us a price on what it would cost. And about a week later, they called back and said, well, we had a Chamber of Commerce board meeting the other night, and we decided to let you have the theater for free, and we'd like you to show the movie multiple times, and we want to build a whole festival around it. And we're going to call it Manerva Monster Day, and we'll get food vendors and people,
Oh, there you go.
Carbon chainsaw. Yeah, so they made a whole thing out of it, and we had over 1,000 people came down and saw the movie and spent time down there. So it turned into a whole thing for them, and we've been invited back to their Oktoberfest. We're going to actually be showing the movie outside at the outdoor park where they have their Oktoberfest. So we'll see what happens with Manerva. They may want to do more stuff in the future with us too. So,
Lauren or Lori, anybody?
Bill.
Bill.
Hot potatoes.
Hot potato.
Wake up, Bill. You caught him
Hey.
outside. Just cleaning nails again or something.
We need to start doing random checks on Bill, making sure he's awake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Do you have any new cities picked out so far that you might attack?
do they have any what?
New cities that you might attack?
Oh, for films.
Yeah, for documentary type of things, or are you just kind of like floating right now?
No, we have a whole list, multiple cities, a big plan. I don't think we're ready to let the cat out of the bag just yet on some of these. But yeah, we kind of have a wish list of things that we'd like to do. We would like to. We called the company, or it's not really a company, but we call it the production Small Town Monsters, because we'd like to kind of branch out from Bigfoot and maybe get into some other creatures that are out there. And I don't know where that'll take us, but I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of Bigfoot stuff out there, but some of these other things may be slipping through the cracks a little bit. So I'm hoping we can dig some stuff up on other things.
Now, when you and Jesse are sitting around chit-chatting and maybe having a drink or something, do you joke around about getting your own cable show?
Come on now. No, I mean, not that the thought hasn't crossed our mind, but no, not really. Usually it's hey, I got this great idea, and Jesse's like, oh no, now what? So I'm always dragging us to new adventures. So yeah, we'll see. We're not. I guess we're not opposed to the idea.
Poor Jesse. I think we've planted a seed.
Well, you have these Fathom Frontier Ventures. Have you ever considered, do you film those when you have all those people? To me, that would be extremely interesting to see how people react. It's kind of more of an educational thing, though. Isn't that what you're doing? More of a kind of an educational instead of.
We do some of that, but when it's kind of like a Fathom Frontiers adventure, it's usually just me and Jesse, and maybe we'll have an invited guest or two, but it's usually just the two of us. And we initially started out our very first official Fathom Frontiers adventure, where the name Fathom Frontiers was born. We filmed that, and it is on YouTube, and there's a few other ones that we've done throughout the years. Our intent was to do that, to kind of film our adventures as kind of more of entertainment thing, because both Jesse and I were.
I see. I misunderstood then. I thought the Fathom Frontiers was when you had people come, but it's not. It's completely different. Did I miss that at the beginning of the show, or? Sorry.
Well, the thing is, a lot of what we do is kind of all getting meshed into one. So at some point, I don't know. We just need to name it one thing and just stick with it. But yeah, so that was our original intent, was to kind of film these episodes, because both Jesse and I are, we're silly. We have a lot of fun. We do serious research, but we're not serious people at all. I mean, we do serious research, but it takes a while for us to get there sometimes.
Well, you've got to make it fun. You have to make it fun.
Right.
That's why a lot of people do it, is because not only is it exciting, but it's fun to get together with other people and horse around and have fun and pick and enjoy it around the campfire, and just everything that's all involved in it, the whole experience, the whole package.
Absolutely, yeah. It's intoxicating once you start doing it.
Yes, because once you, if you got there and you just had everybody like, oh, here, we're going to sit here and have class, and this, now we're going to go out and see what you can find, blah, blah, blah. You got to have a little more, got to be more to it than that, because I just don't see people they're looking for I think they would be looking for a Finding Bigfoot kind of adventure. They've watched Finding Bigfoot, and that's what they're kind of wanting. They're wanting to go out in the woods where they are, and they're wanting to hear something. They're wanting stuff to happen. Of course, you don't stage it. If nothing happens, they've got to realize not always is something going to happen. It's just kind of you're lucky if it does.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Most
absolutely.
of the time it doesn't. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah, we're not one of those people that come back every weekend and say, "Oh, we had this happen and that happened." We go long droughts with no kind of activity at all. So that's the kind of thing that a lot of people don't see.
No, they don't. And there are. It does. Another thing too is that you have your dry spell. You have nothing is going on in this area. Nothing is happening. They've left the area, or they're only there certain times of the year, or you just. They were there, and then when you go back, they're not there. I don't know where they went, but they're not there anymore. And then you go back in a year, they're there again. It's kind of that way. You are just, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I remember there was one place I took this gentleman to. He was wanting... because the last time I went to that area looking for Bigfoot, we had more paranormal activity at that area and no Bigfoot. I mean, it was spooky as all get out. I mean, I'm not kidding. I had something pulling on my hair, invisible things. We were getting a lot of orbs and stuff like that. And so he was really interested in the ghost hunter. He was interested in Bigfoot too, but more interested in ghost hunting. So I took him to this place because it was real ghosty right then. And when we got there, guess what? No ghosts, but we had Bigfoot.
You have to take what's given to you, that's for sure.
There is a question from the chat. Okay. Not to go off topic, I just want to get it in here before we have to wrap. Big Dan FN wants to know, what are Alan's thoughts about proving that Bigfoot exists for the general public?
Oh boy, I think it's going to be a tough job for somebody. I don't condone killing one, but that may be what it takes for the public. I think it kind of in my mind, I think the public's kind of coming around. We've seen from a lot of what we've been doing with the general public, the non-Bigfoot folks, that it's a lot more accepted than it used to be. So I think people are a lot more open-minded about it, and maybe people being more aware of it will get us more credible sightings and that kind of thing. I don't think a picture or a video or anything like that will ever prove the existence. I don't even know if DNA would ever be accepted scientific community. So that's why I always say the legend of Bigfoot lives in the stories from the people that have seen it. And I've talked to many people, even doing these movies, historical sightings, and I've met people that I believe, and that's what makes me believe it's out there, is because I think these people are truthful. And I don't think it's misidentification. I mean, when someone tells you they see the 8-foot tall thing, it's standing upright, it's leaning over, it's picking stuff up and throwing it at you, I mean, that's no animal I've ever heard of before. That's got to be something real. So.
Mm-hmm.
But is your own aim to prove that Bigfoot exists? I think is pretty much more what the question is about.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think I'm more into I fit better in the role of kind of documenting what people are seeing. I mean, sure, if I'm out there documenting and I can get a good video of it, I'll bring it to you guys. But it's not my
more of an
investigator.
investigator.
Yeah, it's not really my end game. There's a lot of people that are a lot better qualified to take that argument to the public and to science, the scientists, and to prove it than I am. If I find something, I'll be more than happy. I have ways of getting in touch with all the people that would be interested in that kind of thing, but I would certainly probably turn it over and let someone who can. I know when I'm in over my head.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and I have to agree with you because I'm more of the person that gets out there and does the grunt work, and then there are the people like Mark Safsky who actually have the right material to present a case. And
right.
so everybody has their different niche. And
what I have
very
been doing, though,
niche.
Right. What I have been doing is there's a lot of people say, well, I saw it and I had a camera in my hand, but I never hit record. And I've been out in the woods where we've had some really close encounters with deer and that kind of thing, where actually there was a buck laying down in the tall grass. I walked right by it, and Jesse was behind me by about 30 feet, maybe a little longer, more than that, 100 feet. And he stepped on a twig that spooked this thing, and it ran out. And I thought, oh, that would have been really cool to have on video. Of course, we both had cameras in our hands, and neither of them were recording. So now I have a GoPro on my shoulder that's always recording. So if I do have an encounter of some kind, I'll have some kind of video. Hopefully, I'm at least pointed in the right direction when it happens. So that's one of the things I do try and do. Is I know I'm not going to have the wherewithal to point a camera up, if I'm having an encounter. But I do things now where I just kind of want to really, really see one for myself, just to know that it's real, really, really see it. So I'll do things like take off all my gear, all my equipment, and just walk up a hillside where I think they might be and just see what happens. I'm really not interested in the $1 million picture or anything. I just want to know it's real for myself.
Exactly. Well, that is a pretty standard thing, because most people, they want to prove it to themselves first, because they're not going to believe it completely until they see one. And then after they've seen one and then they believe it completely, and I say completely because I believed they existed, I thought, until I had a sighting. That completely changed. I realized that I didn't truly believe until I did see one. And then when you reach that point, the next step is proving it to everyone else. And that's the hardest part, is proving it to everyone else. And then the third stage, after you've tried to prove it to everybody else and you really haven't been successful, the third stage is you just really don't. You go into a different step where you don't really care if anyone else believes or not, as long as you believe. And you get a very thick skin. You get thick skin, and you just continue on in your own quest. And it no longer involves everyone else. It's your own personal quest.
Right. There seems to be kind of two things that happen when you see a Bigfoot. You either never go in the woods again, never speak of it, or you go in the woods every chance you get and you can't, you want to see it again, you want to prove it because you want people to think you're not crazy. Yeah, there seems to be two schools of thought on that, for sure.
Well, and I have heard of people that don't want anything to do with it. Don't want anything to do with it. Don't want to know anything more about it. Don't want to discuss it. That's it.
That's been one of the frustrating. That's been one of the frustrating things making some of these movies is we've had some eyewitnesses with incredible stories that just didn't want to talk about it publicly. They wouldn't come on camera, and some of those stories are far better than what actually ends up in the movie. But you just, you can't argue with them. They don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to force you to talk about it. I'm at the point now where I just really want to see one myself. I'm the guy that hears a noise and goes running towards it because I just want to see what it is. I somehow became that guy,
Yeah, that guy. Well, and there's a lot of guys just like you, or people out there just like you that want to have that experience. And now there's some that have been doing it 30 years and have yet to see one. Now that's dedication.
Yeah, that's
staying in something for 30 years. I think I would give up. If I didn't see one in 30 years, I'd just say, well, this is just not going to happen. Let me go chase ghosts. Or let me go sit up on, go down to Big Bend and sit up on Mount Marta and see if I can see a UFO, or the lights or something, everything to soothe that curiosity or bring that adrenaline.
I've still got Roswell and Area 51 on my bucket list too. I would love to go out there and poke around.
Yeah, definitely.
Get myself arrested. Maybe that's where I'll get shot at.
Honestly, I can say I have never seen a UFO ever. I would like to, but I've never seen one. So.
Well, you can go with him to Roswell and bail him out.
Yeah. Well, Alan, you have been a fantastic guest, a very interesting guest, and we have learned so much from you. And we are going to, we want everyone out there to see the Manerva Monster and be looking forward to the Whitehall, Monster in Whitehall. Is that what it's called? Did I get that right?
It's going to be called the Beast. It's going to be called Beast of Whitehall. I anticipate that we'll probably be out sometime towards the end of the year, but we haven't even begun editing at this point yet. That'll be starting in the next couple of weeks, and I'm not really sure how long it'll take. But we've got some artists working on posters, and we'll be kind of trickling some things out. Look for a Kickstarter campaign so we can raise the money to properly release the Beast of Whitehall, for sure.
Okay. Oh, okay. And so anything else that you want to share with us about what's coming up or what your plans are before we end the show, because we are getting down to the wire?
All right. Well, you can follow us on Facebook at Fathom Frontiers. Small Town Monsters is on there to keep up with the editing of Beast of Whitehall, and we're going to be probably picking up the pace on Fathom Frontiers with some stuff. We do a lot down at Saltport because that seems to be the most accepted place, and it's kind of in the middle of the state for the most part. So we kind of get Columbus and Cleveland all down there. We have a completely full schedule. I couldn't even begin to rattle off everything. We're going to be showing Manerva Monster all over Ohio, and there's still a lot left to do with that movie before we start really getting into the next one.
It sounds like you have an amazing and incredible life going on, and we thank you for giving us some time, because we know you didn't really have a lot, and we fully appreciate you finding the time to come on this show. We thank you so much.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure, and I can't wait to have all you guys come to Ohio and come to the conference, and then I'll meet you back in Texas, and we'll get down to business out there.
Well, you're welcome down here anytime. Well, I'm on Facebook, so just let us know when you're coming, and we'll be ready. All right?
And keep the porch light on, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know about the other co-hosts, but on my bucket list is to go to the Ohio conference. So
me too.
Yeah. Just make that happen.
Yeah, I don't know the
we're
date
gonna have to do
offhand,
some car
but-
washes or something.
I don't have the date
Yeah.
offhand, but yeah, it's going to be May 2016 at Salt Fork State Park Lodge. Mark DeWerf and the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't been. Just ask Henry May. He knows all about it. He's there every year. He makes the trip because it is worth it. It's not even just about the speakers. You know, there's thousands of people come down, and there's only seating
I
from.
would love to meet so many different people that I know that
Yeah.
know Ohio people especially. And
Absolutely.
well, we are here at the end of the show. I'd like to tell you that next week we are having New Mexico Bigfoot researcher Robert Kreider. So of those of you out there that know him, he's going to be on our show next Thursday. And we'd like all of you to have a very safe and wonderful weekend. And we will see you next week. So say good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night, Alan.
Good
Good
night,
night, thank
Alan.
you.